Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum, driving digital transformation and empowering innovation. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Also, be sure to subscribe to Argyle on YouTube for exclusive access to all our past events. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Lee Bogner, Global Chief Gen AI and AI Strategic Enterprise Architect and University Educator, Mars, Hofstra U, and MIT. We're super excited to have Lee with us for a keynote presentation titled From Automation to Autonomy, How IT Leaders Are Navigating from GPT to Autonomized Operations and Beyond. Welcome, Lee. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nick. I'd like to first thank the audience as well as Argyle for bringing me to this session to speak today. It's my honor. We're going to have some fun talking about the trends that IT leaders must deal with, including understanding some of the nomenclature, which can get kind of choppy along the way. So anyway, I look forward to spending some good time with you for the next 30 minutes. My background is, as Nick mentioned, I'm with the Mars Corporation, but I also have 30 years in digital industry, driving digital transformations and being at the forefront of innovation for both enterprises and startups at J&J, Accenture, as well as IBM and 6 startups. I've also had the pleasure of being CIO at a couple of the smaller companies, as well as taking a e-commerce retailer and retail storefront from 25 million to over $100 million in revenue in 2 years, and then ending up with a exit to a much larger retailer. So I'm sure this fits the profile of some of you, if not a lot of you. So I want to make sure that you're able to ask me questions that fit my background and the presentation at large. So anyway, let's get started. First, a little disclaimer. These opinions are my own, not of my employers. So get that out of the way. So today we're at an inflection point. It's very historic. Technology is changing. 10 years ago, we were focused on automating repeatable tasks. Today, we're designing systems that think, learn, and even adapt in real time. That shift from automation to autonomy is more than a technical upgrade. It's really a transformation in how we lead. So leadership is a big part of this direction. So in my work as a global business and academic, I've seen how fast change is unfolding. Whether it's in a billion-dollar supply chain or in university labs, the evolution from PreGPT to GenAI to Agentic AI, and now what is called Autonomized operations is accelerating. This is not a future state. It's already here. So let's break it down a little bit. Let's understand the language of the AI evolution, because there's a lot of words out there that seem to mean the same thing, but you'll find that people on your team, your leaders, your business partners, your customers, your patients whoever, potentially are using terminology which they might not fully understand. And as IT leaders, we have to be at the forefront, not only of the application of these technologies and these leadership's business solving capabilities, but we also have to be the arbiters of the nomenclature and be concise and consistent with that. So let's take a quick look. PreGPT was all about static, rules-based automation. Think scripts, rigid rules-based, RPA, robotic programmable software agents. Very rigid, requiring a lot of work, a lot of manual coding. Yeah, there were cost savings, but they were very rigid, as I mentioned. This broke way to, in 2022, towards the end of 2022, with ChatGPT coming out and the advent of GenAI, actually first coming around in 2017 through engineers at Google with the generative pre-trained transformer architecture in 2017. That's the basis for generative AI. So suddenly, machines could write, they could visualize, and they could support creativity. The next level we began to meet is AI agents. Autonomous to some degree, they could handle goals and programs on their own. They are characterized by being very task-based. Now, if you look further to the agentic AI world, that's where multiple agents come together. Think about workflows. Browsing for a product on an ecommerce site is task number one. Placing an order is task number two. Making the payment is task number three. Delivering the product to the business or to the consumer is task number four. Separate tasks with separate goals that can be automated. When you begin to orchestrate them into a workflow, that's the world of agentic, multi-agent coordination and orchestration. Very important. You'll see the characteristics of agents dynamically working together in workflows. So what's the next leap? And why are we here today? Autonomization. Now that's a bit of a mouthful. I told you at the beginning, this nomenclature is going to be, interesting, but it does differentiate. These are systems that not only act, but they improve themselves over time. And we'll go into a bit more detail on this. So, all of this requires an evolution in IT leadership and their roles. It isn't just a tech story anymore. It's a leadership story. So your CIOs, your CTOs, whatever your flavor of CXO is, the titles may vary, but the shift is universal. No longer are we managing just systems. We're shaping intelligent ecosystems. We must now also be cultural change agents within and across our organizations and our ecosystems. We must be translators of AI into business impact. But we must also be champions of ethics and trust. So, as we align technology to business value, one of the biggest mistakes I see is treating AI like a siloed initiative. AI must be tied to business goals: growth, efficiency, speed to market. It's not just about cool tools, it's about co-creating value. Every deployment should answer the question, how does this move the needle for our business? We must also deal with modernizing legacy systems. The truth is, most of us still run legacy systems. Now, that's not necessarily a problem, it is an opportunity. Realistically, we can't just rip and replace everything overnight, but we can layer intelligence on top of the existing legacy environments. We can use microservices to plug and play capabilities within our architectures. And we can gradually evolve the business capabilities and the technology stacks. AI gives us a bridge to a modern architecture without risking uptime or performance. So, what is autonomization? The term captures the next leap forward. It's not just automation with a new name. Autonomization is about building systems that adapt, that learn, and optimize on their own. In the short term, we'll see smart pipelines that adjust in real time. Near term, we'll see multiple agents become pervasive and collaborate, each improving their tasks autonomously. And then in the longer term, entire functions, broad functions like supply chain or finance or R&D, could become self-directed. Notice I emphasize could, operating intelligently with minimal oversight. Again, not fully non-human, but oversight. And it might become minimal over time. That's the direction that we're heading. So autonomized operations sounds futuristic, but it's already here and working today. Think about your real-time inventory systems predicting shortages before they happen. Digital agents that optimize supply chains overnight while you sleep. So our role as leaders is to make these intelligent workflows the rule, not the exception. So let's think about human augmentation and compare it, human augmented AI, and compare it to full autonomy. Human augmented agents work with people. They assist in decision support, flagging anomalies, and suggesting actions. But again, let me emphasize, requiring human oversight. Augmentation is huge, and that may be the crawl in your crawl, walk, run approach. Fully autonomous systems act independently. They can make decisions. They can execute tasks without direct input. So while they're on their own and they're powerful, keep in mind they require stronger controls around trust, around safety, and around governance. You do not want to encounter maverick and wild west rogue agents. You want to have it under control. So we talk about augmentation. It's about trust and control and human oversight. We talk about autonomy. We want to achieve speed and scale quickly. The context really decides the blend between augmentation of AI and fully, or more appropriately, fuller autonomy. The benefits of human augmented AI include transparency, include flexibility, include ethical assurance, and are ideal for healthcare, legal, and finance use cases. Fully autonomous systems, they excel as mentioned, in speed and scalability. And when you look at them today, are a good fit for logistics, for defense industry, and for dynamic optimization. But keep in mind and caution, they require robust testing, fallback systems, and governance layers. So, IT leaders must match these use cases with the right autonomy level. Context decides blend. And recognize that hybrid models will shape the future. So, let me share some critical dangers of full autonomy versus human augmented AI. There are serious dangers without human augmentation. Fully autonomous systems, when left unchecked, can introduce systemic errors, can produce biased decisions at scale, and critical failures with no human override, which may be difficult to catch once they're unleashed. In healthcare, this could mean misdiagnosis, fatal failures. In finance, major transaction errors to profitability issues. In defense, unintended escalations, the worst of all. Human augmented approaches introduce vital safeguards in terms of context, in terms of empathy, in terms of accountability, and in terms of ethical checks. So keep in mind, we must design with humans in the loop and not just as overseers, but as strategic partners in intelligent operations. The biggest risk isn't that that machines think too much, but it's that we let machines act without ensuring they understand consequences. So, we are now entering the world of building a culture of innovation. We've had these in the past. We have to keep in mind that technology lessons learned can transform an organization if culture doesn't follow. So, taking the lessons learned from the past and applying them to this new world of autonomization, we need to apply certain aspects, including nurturing curiosity, empowering teams to experiment, and invest in cross-functional collaboration. This means training, it means support, and it means creating safe spaces to learn. And sometimes fail. Innovation becomes everyone's job. So, in summary, what do we do next? First, let's embrace that we're no longer in the automation era. We're in the autonomy era. And lead into it. Second, lead with vision and clarity. Third, invest in people and systems equally. A big part of this is training the people, even on a communication and nomenclature level. Autonomization isn't just about a technical journey, as I've mentioned. It's about a leadership imperative, and it's ours to shape. This is our moment. Thank you. Are there any questions from the crowd?
Yes, Lee. Thanks so much. Here's one. What are the most critical mindset shifts required for IT leaders as AI transitions from tool to co-strategist?
So I think what we have to keep in mind, and I like the question from the perspective of working with technology tool to strategist and understanding the business value, I like to position when I converse with leaders as well as staff, as well as peers, that we need to be thinking about people. Okay, the challenge or the acronym I like to use is POST, POST. So you have people first. Who are going to be the users and what value are we going to provide to them? O, PO. O is objectives. So again, what are we trying to achieve? What is the problem to be solved? So thinking about it more strategically, it being applying from pure tech into a business value. PO, POS, POS, S for strategies. What strategies would we apply to meet those business problems to generate value for those people? And those people, again, are associates, they're customers, they're partners. So POS, and then T. T is the last one in a linear POST. Don't start with the technology or the tools. Start with the people. Excuse me. Go to objectives, go to strategies, then pick your technology that meets those first three elements. Now, sometimes it's kind of hard to do that. I grappled with this quite a bit through various organizations and clients and all of that, because many still like to approach the technology first because it's cool. And I touched on that. It's not about cool, it's about leadership and cultural change. Great question. Thank you.
Right. Great. And speaking of leadership, here's another question from the audience. What does modern IT leadership look like in the era of agentic AI?
So, what I find interesting is we're still grappling with how it's going to work. Now, what I would say is the IT leadership must continue its path from the last few years with digital technologies, mobile technologies, cloud technologies, e-commerce technologies as examples, social technologies, and continue to work very closely with the business to achieve objectives. By collaborating and combining forces, um, is going to allow you to best generate value both culturally as well as the bottom line.
All right, great. Here's another question. How can companies determine when to use Gen AI versus agentic AI versus fully automated solutions?
Right. So, in a nutshell, generative AI, you're really looking to generate content, uh, be it text, be it uh, multimodal, so video, audio. You're really looking to use the GPT to help you create narratives, create answers, um, and flesh out, do research. Um, Agent is where you're taking the LLMs, which are part of the Gen AI, and providing what I like to call to the brain, which is the LLM in the agentic model, providing some muscle. So defining data and tools that the task is going to need and automatically or effectively autonomously within the realm of the task, within the silo of the task. So the tasks I mentioned before, 4 tasks of an e-commerce transaction, uh, browse for the product task 1, pick the product task 2, uh, purchase the product task 3, and deliver the product task 4. Each of those is a separate task. It has separate data elements, separate tools, separate displays, separate integrations. Take task 3, when you're doing a payment, you have to process the credit card. So all of these elements have different components. So that becomes an agentic, an AI agent separate task. Agentic is the third evolution of that, where you begin to identify workflows. And there's many ways to do that. One way to do it is with heavy human intervention that you're orchestrating and allowing each task to communicate via heavy human intervention. Another way to do it is to build super agents that become orchestrators. So these are orchestration layers. And there's plenty of frameworks out there, such as LangChain and AutoGen and others, that allow you to now orchestrate these separate agents and put them into a flow, but also allow the super agent to string these together so it becomes highly automated. Again, have human in the loop. I want to go back to that second question. I think the cultural change, the thing I would like to add to that for IT executives, is that you're going to see, and you're already beginning to see, process automation, as I'm describing, to change the workflow resources that IT and business executives are now going to manage. They're going to manage human individuals. They're also going to manage software agents, and they'll be part of your team. So that's a key point. I wanted to make sure we understood that. Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, here's another question. What best practices can IT leaders follow to optimize AI deployments across multi-cloud environments?
Multi-cloud, yes. Um, there's a variety of frameworks and tools that are out there, and I mentioned a couple of them already, and they're very much LangChain, in particular, AutoGen, Crew AI. Uh, uh, so these are third-party platforms, open source, but they are industry leaders. And then, of course, the big cloud companies have their own abilities to manage their own cloud. So you got Microsoft, Google, and AWS. Now, within those, obviously they're gonna lean towards their own cloud environments. But in reality, if you go to the third-party open sources, it'll open up your capabilities in multiple ways. Let me give you some examples. Um, the the third-party frameworks will allow you to use large language models from multiple vendors. So there's ChatGPT from OpenAI, there's Claude from Anthropic, there's Gemini from Google. So you have a model selection and you have capabilities that allow you to pick the right model for the right set of tasks. And let me assure you, there are different preferences or benefits from choosing different large language models to either work independently in GenAI or to work with your AI agents based on the tasks that you're trying to take care of and work within your workflow. So that's one level. The next level is through these third-party environments. There are ways to be able to support multiple cloud environments, but I would say in most cases, uh, large enterprises kind of build their own environments within, let's say, infrastructures that they control and allow them to work in one environment and transfer over to another environment, meaning uh, Azure over to Google, over to AWS. So in my opinion, a lot of that is still coming together from agentic AI and working cross cloud. So that's part of, if you look at a maturity scale, I would have that on the lower left side of the hockey stick. The maturity level is low in those areas, but will grow quickly and hockey stick up to the far right to optimization. It'll take a little bit of time, but probably not too long. There you go.
Great. Yeah, well, thank you again, Lee, for such an incredible keynote. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. This officially concludes the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum, driving digital transformation and empowering innovation. Thank you again for joining us today and engaging in our content. We look forward to seeing you at our next Argyle Digital Information Technology event soon, which will be our AI Summit, Unlocking the Future with Artificial Intelligence on September 9th, 2025. Have a great rest of your day.